Hi, and welcome to the NFL Fan Forum. My name is Art, aka the Sea Cow, and this is my sidekick John, aka the Cowlick.
What's up?
Thank you for joining us as we get closer to the start of what should be a fun season of football. But first, our play of the day.
Almost offside, but the Packers got back on. Elway scrambling, looking, running, diving inside the 5-yard line for a first down.
Our topic of discussion will be the AFC West. So let's get started. First, the Denver Broncos. Head coach Vic Fangio finds a much better team awaiting him in his second season. New offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur brings his complex schemes to Denver from the New York Giants. The talent and excitement is very high in the Mile High City right now. Second-year quarterback Drew Lock finds himself in the driver's seat as the new starter. He will be asked to lead this team back to the playoffs. Do you think he can do it?
I think he can because Drew Lock, he now has a first-round pick Jerry Jeudy, second-round pick KJ Hamler, and he also has Courtland Sutton, who was a Pro Bowler last year. He has tight end Noah Fant, tight end Jake Butt, tight end Albert Okwuegbunam, who was his college tight end, and running back Philip Lindsay, Melvin Gordon, and Royce Freeman. So this team, this offense is very stacked, and Drew Lock has a lot of weapons to throw to. So he better take advantage of it, and hopefully he can take this team to the playoffs.
I have to agree with that. This is a very exciting group. But first of all, veteran running back Melvin Gordon joins Philip Lindsay in the Bronco backfield. Do you think him coming over from the rival Chargers is going to do a lot for this team?
I think he can make a difference for this team. He has the talent to do so. But I still think Philip Lindsay is going to be the starter because he's just that good. So I'm pretty sure Philip Lindsay can be that starter. But Melvin Gordon, he'll still make a difference. But he'll be a number 2 running back.
Moving on to the receiver group. Like you said, that rookie first-round pick, Jerry Jeudy, he really looks really talented. Very tall, very good hands, along with fellow fast rookie KJ Hamler. What can this group do for Drew Lock? I mean, he sounds like he's really excited with this group.
They both can do a lot. Jerry Jeudy, he's a Blendikoff Award winner for the best wide receiver in the country, and he has that shimmy leg thing that Lamar Jackson has. And KJ Hamler, he's not a Blendikoff Award winner, but he is extremely fast. He is very fast, and he also has that shimmy leg thing, but he hasn't learned that from Jerry Jeudy. He just learned it. So I'm pretty sure this wide receiver duo, and including Courtland Sutton trio, is going to make a huge difference and help Lock win some games.
The high-flying offense continues with a good tight end group. I'm looking at people like Noah Fant and Nick Vanette. These guys are going to really be great pass catchers for Drew Lock. That's what I'm seeing. What do you think?
This tight end room is stacked, in my opinion. It's so talented. You have Noah Fant, Jake Butt, Nick Vanette, and also Albert O, who is going to be a rookie. And I am pretty sure all 4 of these tight ends can make a difference.
This team has a lot of strengths, that's for sure. But one position that I've noticed is very much up in the air is the offensive line. Do you think it's going to be a good group, or do you think it's not going to be such a great group?
I personally think it's decent. I mean, you have Garrett Bowles, but he has so many penalties. He has so many holding penalties. But ever since Drew Lock took the starting role, he's been improved. So I think he can be pretty good. He just has to stop the penalties. Dalton Reisner, he was in the draft that Drew Lock was in, and he is very, very good. Elijah Wilkinson, he's okay. He also has a little bit of holding penalties, but hopefully he can improve this year. And I don't know the rest of the names, but it seems pretty decent. I mean, Drew Lock is a mobile quarterback, which is a good thing, but let's just hope that this offensive line can improve and hopefully be better than decent.
Let's move over to a really strong strength of this team, and that's the defensive side of the ball. On this defensive line, it all starts with defensive ends Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. And also they've added Titans defensive tackle Jarrell Casey. What do you think he brings to the team?
He brings a lot. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, and he is very talented. I'm so happy we got him. This defensive line is very, very stacked if you haven't noticed. It's very stacked. You have Shelby Harris. You have Jarrell Casey now. You have Von Miller. You have Bradley Chubb on the edges, who are both good edge defenders. So I'm pumped up for this D-line to be ready to sack some quarterbacks this year.
Behind these linemen, we've got a decent linebacker group, but they seem to be very young. What can you tell me about them?
Linebackers, Alexander Johnson, who started last year, he was very, very good. Todd Davis, I can't talk about him because he's no longer with the team, which is disappointing, but he was okay, so I'm not too upset that we cut him. And then there's Josie Jewell, who's another linebacker who is pretty solid, I'll admit. This linebacker area is pretty solid in my opinion. Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell. We also got someone from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just can't remember who. But this linebacker group is hopefully going to improve this year.
One of the biggest trades that happened in the offseason was the acquisition of A.J. Bouye from Jacksonville. You think he's going to help this secondary be a really top-notch team?
Yes. He is very, very good. It's just that the downside is he's getting old, and this is going to be his 9th year in the NFL, and he is getting very old. But he still has some fuel left in the tank. And then you have Bryce Callahan, who is also a very good slot corner. He just had that injury. Everyone's worried about him getting injured again, but I still think he can be pretty good. You have Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons, who is a very good safety duel. And it appears that there's nobody else other than Trey Marshall, who's also a very good safety. But I don't see any other safeties, so I'm a bit concerned by that. But I still think the secondary can be very, very talented.
So let's move on to predictions for this team. Looking at the schedule, it is actually very tough schedule. From what I'm seeing an 11-5 record with a wild card. What do you think?
I see them going 12-4 because I think they're pretty talented. And after looking at the schedule, it's a little bit easier than we may think it is. So I think we might go 12-4.
So that'll do it for our Broncos segment. Let's move on to the world champion, Kansas City Chiefs. Head coach Andy Reid finally got his first Super Bowl victory in a Hall of Fame career. But can he do it again? Again, that's the hardest thing to do, is repeat. We'll have to wait and see. The starting quarterback, of course, is Patrick Mahomes. He just happens to now be the richest player in football. Do you think he's worth all that money?
I don't know, because there's a part saying that he is, and then there's another part saying he isn't. He is because he led his team to a Super Bowl. He might do it again next year. But it's just that if he gets injured again, and he's like out for the rest of the season, then that might hurt his stock. But he's always been healthy. He has been injured a few times, but he's always been healthy. So I don't know. It's 50-50, but you never know. I think he is, and he isn't worth that money.
For 10 years and $500 million, well, I really think he's going to have to stay healthy for this team to be successful. Backup like Chad Henne, he knows the system, but he's definitely a backup for a reason. That's what he's been his whole career. Moving on to the running back position, Damian Williams, he opted out because of COVID, and now it looks like the duties are moved on to the first-round pick, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Do you think he can handle the load?
I mean, I think he can, because he's from LSU, and he was a part of that championship-winning team in LSU. So I think he can make a big difference, and I haven't heard any injury concerns with him, but thing is just to stay healthy. But I'm pretty sure he can do that, and he can probably make a big difference for this team.
Moving on to the wide receiver group, you have so much talent here. You got Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Michael Hardman. Where can you go wrong with these guys?
I don't know, because they're all pretty talented. They're all very good. McCole Hardman, who was a rookie last year, he, I think, already broke out. But it shows here that Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins are questionable. They got to get back to being healthy, so that way they can make a big difference for his team. If they get out for the rest of the season, then that's going to put a huge blow, and they're going to have to look up to McCole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson, who is also in the same draft as Tyreek Hill. If Sammy Watkins and Tyreek Hill can stay healthy, we got a dangerous wide receiver trio, and I don't know if they can ever be stopped. So, yeah, I think the wide receiver trio is very talented.
Doesn't hurt to have a name like Legion of Zoom either. They have that name for a reason. Moving over to the tight ends, they have a really excellent tight end in Travis Kelce. Also backed up by a nice Ricky Seals-Jones as well. What do you think of this tight end group?
I think it's pretty talented. I mean, I don't know much about Ricky Seals-Jones, but Travis Kelce, he's an amazing tight end. And he's getting older, and possibly injuries might be a concern in the future. But for now, I think he's still a very talented tight end.
Moving over to the offensive line, this is a very talented and very veteran group, led by Eric Fisher at left tackle. But guys like Austin Ryder and Mitchell Schwartz, these guys are really strong, and that's important for Patrick Mahomes' safety and health with all the money that they've spent on him. So they should be really good on offense this year again. Moving over to the defensive line, we have lots of good talent here. Guys they've re-signed like Chris Jones and obviously Frank Clark, good sack masters in this group. How talented do you think this group is?
I think it's pretty talented in my opinion. Chris Jones, he got that massive extended contract. He is very talented. Frank Clark, former Seahawk, he's very talented. Alex Okafor, I don't know him, and Derek Nottie, I don't know him either. But I'm guessing they're pretty good because they are starting for the Chiefs, so I'm guessing they're pretty good. But all I know is that Chris Jones and Frank Clark, they're very, very good defensive linemen.
Moving over to linebackers, we've got veteran Anthony Hitchens leading this group. And Damian Wilson, he seems to be an up-and-coming star. But I'm really curious about this rookie Willie Gay Jr. What do you think of him?
I think he's going to be pretty good because Willie Gay, his father, was a really good linebacker for the Steelers. Willie Gay Jr., I think he has something from his father, and I'm pretty sure he can make a big difference for this defense, but nobody seems to be backing up, which is a big problem. So if he gets injured, nobody is going to back him up. So he's got to stay healthy, and I feel confident, very confident in him to make a huge difference for his team.
Chiefs also have a decent secondary led by safety Tyrann Mathieu. Why don't you tell me a little bit about these young guys?
Tyrann Mathieu, he's a very nasty safety. He's so good. He came from the Cardinals, and he's a very good safety. Rashad Fenton, Juwan Thornhill, and Travarius Ward are all still young players. I don't know anything about them, but they're young, and they seem pretty talented. And this secondary also looks scary, so I'm pretty sure this secondary can make a huge difference for this team too. So this defense and offense looks very talented to me.
So let's move on to the predictions for the Kansas City Chiefs this year. Looking at the schedule, it's not too terribly horrible, but there are some tough games on the road. Looking at that, I think the team's going to go 12-4 and become a division winner again. What do you think?
I think they're going to go 13-3. And I'm a Broncos fan, but I'm pretty sure they can go 13-3 and they're going to be the division winner. They're just that talented. And they possibly might win the Super Bowl. You never know.
So that'll do it for our Kansas City Chiefs segment. Let's go ahead and move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders this year, they get a good surprise. They get a new stadium. Head coach John Gruden is excited for the year. He's looking forward to playing in the new stadium, and I think it looks very nice. What do you think of the new stadium?
I think the stadium looks pretty nice too. they have everything in the stadium, and I can't wait to see games happen inside this new stadium.
To lead the team onto the field at the new stadium, we have a veteran in Derek Carr at quarterback. He had a decent year last year. He had 4,000 yards plus and over 20 touchdowns. He just hasn't been the same since his leg injury, and now he's got competition at his quarterback position from former Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota. Where do you think this quarterback position goes from here?
Derek Carr, this might be his last year to prove that he's a really good quarterback, but if he's still not that great, they might get rid of him and start Marcus Mariota. He was also a decent quarterback. He's a very mobile quarterback. He is sometimes inaccurate, but they might have to draft a new quarterback next year if Derek Carr or Marcus Mariota shows up. So yeah, quarterbacks, they're pretty decent.
Moving over to the running back position, we have a very talented second-year player in running back Josh Jacobs out of Alabama. He really is a beast. Over 1,100 yards, 7 touchdowns. And he's got some decent backups behind him. What do you think?
I think he's pretty good too. Josh Jacobs, he's a 1,000-yard rusher. He is very fast, and he knows how to create separation. He knows how to find those holes. He's very talented. After him, I don't really know much except for Devontae Booker, former Bronco. We got rid of him. But Josh Jacobs, I think he can stay healthy, and I already know he can make a huge difference for this team on offense.
Wide receiver group, well, this is a very young group, led by Hunter Renfrow, who's in his second year. But they've got two rookies that they look really promising. What do you think of them?
I think they're pretty good, in my opinion. Henry Ruggs, he's a speedster. Brian Edwards, he is not that fast, but he's a big body wide receiver. I think he's actually pretty good. Henry Ruggs, he fits well with the offense, but I don't know if he's going to be able to adjust to John Gruden's complex offensive scheme. But if he can make a big difference, nice. Henry Ruggs will be the Raiders' Tyreek Hill. Brian Edwards, I think he can be that big body wide receiver for the Raiders.
To complement the wide receivers, we look at tight end Darren Waller, and he is becoming a wonderful weapon for John Gruden's offense. Last year he had 1,000 yards and 90 receptions. If he can repeat that this year, that would be just outstanding for them. It doesn't hurt that he's being backed up by Jason Witten coming over from the Cowboys. That'll really help the team a lot. Moving on to the offensive line, we have a very aggressive, nasty, and veteran leadership-filled group here. This is very, very good for Derek Carr to keep himself healthy and also be able to be effective in the pocket. The best thing that we can say about these guys is that they're a cohesive unit that have totally committed to keeping Derek Carr clean, as they call it. So you can't ask for better on the offensive line. Turning to the defensive side of the ball, we have a very decent defensive tackle and defensive end line here. Got some young talent, some big guys. But can they get to the quarterback? What do you think?
I think they can. I know Cleveland Farrell didn't like the pick last year, but he's been pretty decent out there. Max Crosby, he's a very, very good defensive end. Wish the Broncos had him, but Raiders too, and I had to go against him twice a year. He's very good. Jonathan Hankins and Malik Collins, I don't know anything about them, but since they're starters, I'm guessing they have to be pretty good. So yeah, I think that this defensive tackle and defensive end group looks pretty solid to me.
Behind them, there's a pretty solid group of linebackers here, especially Corey Littleton in the middle, who came over from the Rams. I know a lot about him when he played the Seahawks every year. He brings a lot of leadership to this team, and I'm excited to see how good this linebacker crew is. Moving to the back end in the secondary, this group looks very young, but yet very quick and talented. If they can just put it together, become professionals at the speed of all the wide receivers in the AFC West that are very speedy, they could be a very good group. What do you think of these guys?
I think so too. Trayvon Mullen, he's pretty decent. I don't know much about him, but I've seen him play. He's pretty decent. Jonathan Abram, seen him play a little bit too. He's also pretty decent. Eric Harris, I don't know much about him, but I'm guessing he's pretty good, judging that he's a starter. Damian Arnett, I know him. He was the first round draft pick. Nobody liked the pick. I didn't like the pick either. They cut Prince Amukamara, which I don't necessarily agree with. They have very high confidence for Damon Arnett. Let's just hope that he turns into a really great corner, because I don't see it happening. They should have kept Prince Amukamara, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely true. If they can come together, the defense might be pretty good this year. I'm estimating about the 15 to 20 range. But let's move on to the predictions for this team. Having looked at the schedule, getting a feel for what's going on offense and defense here, with a lot of young players here, I'm giving them about a 7-9 record this year. What do you think?
I'm giving them a 9-7 record, and that's pretty fair in my opinion. They have a pretty decent schedule this year, and with a pretty good offense, with those amazing wide receivers, and that pretty good defense, I think they can go 9-7.
So that'll do it for our Raiders predictions. Let's go ahead and move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Head coach Anthony Lynn is on the hot seat this year to get his team, which is a very talented team, into the playoffs. Can he make this happen while opening up a new stadium?
I think he can. I'm looking at their depth chart. Their QB's questionable. The running back is pretty good. Running backs are pretty good. Wide receivers are also very talented. Tight ends, don't know much about them. And their offensive line is pretty decent, in my opinion. I think he might possibly take this team to the playoffs. They could be a possible playoff team.
Yeah, I think they're a very talented team. They should make a playoff push. Let's start with the quarterback position. We know that Tyrod Taylor is more of a placeholder for Justin Herbert in the future, but do you think he still has a lot to offer this Charger team?
Justin Herbert, not much, in my opinion. Justin Herbert, I personally think he's going to be the next NFL bust. He's going to be the next Mitch Trubisky. If he proves me wrong, then nice job. But what he has to do, he has to not rush things, and he has to see what the defense is doing, and then take advantage of where the next wide open wide receiver is or running back is. But for now, Tyrod Taylor, he's going to be the starter. I personally think he's better than Justin Herbert. But Tyrod Taylor, we haven't seen him in action for a long time now. But he'll be a good starter for the Chargers, but he's still questionable.
Well, like the Broncos, Phillip Lindsay, we have a running back in Austin Eckler in Charger land. He's an undrafted free agent, and his talent and his ability to be able to play so well last year has earned him a big contract, so that they moved on from Melvin Gordon. Do you think he's the guy for them?
I think so. He's very talented. I'm surprised they found a hidden gem in Austin Eckler. He's very, very talented. I'm pretty sure Austin Eckler is going to get past 1,000 yards this year. He's very talented, and I can't wait to watch him play and play against me this year.
Looking over at the wide receiver position for the Chargers, it's a very solid group, especially with veterans Keenan Allen, who had another big year last year, and Mike Williams, who also had another big year last year. Led by those guys, I think the young fellas like Joe Reed and Jalen Guyton, they can learn a lot from these guys and become a very dangerous wide receiver group. What do you think?
I think so too. Keenan Allen, very, very talented wide receiver. Mike Williams, also another very talented wide receiver, and he's fast too. Jalen Guyton, don't know much about, but after doing a little bit of research, apparently he's undrafted, and he's okay from what I've seen, but I don't understand why they're starting him. Maybe he can prove me wrong and possibly turn into something amazing. But I personally think they should start KJ Hill instead because I think he's a better wide receiver than Jalen Guyton, but that's just me.
To assist the wide receivers, it looks like the tight end group is pretty solid, pretty stacked. Hunter Henry and Virgil Green. These guys are veterans and they're big, tall targets. They can take care of the ball very well. And they've been able to help the quarterbacks for the Chargers. What do you think of these guys?
I think they're pretty good, in my opinion. Like Virgil Green, I know him because of the Broncos. He's pretty good. I don't know why they're not starting him, but I guess Hunter Henry is better. Hunter Henry, I know a little bit about. He's pretty good from what I've seen, just from that little bit from what I've seen. He's pretty good, but I still think Virgil Green is possibly a little bit better, but that's just me. So yeah, I think you got two pretty good tight ends on this list.
As for the offensive line, they have a pretty decent group here, led by Mike Pouncey at center. Bringing over Brian Bulaga from Green Bay was a very good pickup, I think. He protected Aaron Rodgers for many years. So I think the offensive line is pretty safe and strong. Let's go ahead and move over to the defensive side of the ball. We're looking at a super good defensive line here, led by Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. Linval Joseph came over from the Vikings. These guys are going to be really, really strong. What do you think?
I think so too. Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa's brother, and he's very good. I've seen that big contract the Chargers gave him, and yeah, I think it was worth it. Justin Jones, don't know anything about. Linval Joseph, I know him. He's very, very talented. And Melvin Ingram, he's very, very tough to get down to. I think this defensive line is going to be very tough to stop this year.
Looking over at the linebacking core, we've got a lot of young players here, definitely, with a lot of speed and a lot of talent, especially led by a first-round pick of this year's draft, Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. What can you tell me about him?
What I can tell you is that he is a very talented linebacker. I think you're getting someone who is very tough, who is very talented at stuffing people up in the run, and he's a good defender. I really like the guy. Keiser White, don't know anything about him. Andrew Tranquil, don't know anything about either, but I'm guessing that those two guys are pretty talented, judging that they're starters. But I think that Kenneth Murray can turn into a great linebacker this year.
Moving over to the secondary, this was a very strong group last year, and they should be again this year as well. The only biggest problem with that is that Derwin James is now in an injured reserve. That's a big loss in the safety position. But you still got very good veterans such as Chris Harris and Casey Hayward at corner and Rayshawn Jenkins, and these guys are really good. What do you think of this secondary?
I think it's very scary. And they have Chris Harris, former Bronco. But Chris Harris, he's going to make a huge difference for this quarterback system. Casey Hayward, he's also a very good corner. He's very, very tough. And Rayshawn Jenkins, he's also very good. He's really good at what he does. And Nazir Adderley replacing Derwin James. I don't know anything about him, but he's replacing Derwin James, and he better step up this year because he might be the starting job for the rest of the season. So he better step up and let this Chargers team win some games.
So let's move on to the predictions for the Chargers this year. Some new faces, but there's a real good strength of veteran leadership, I think, on this team. Looking at the schedule, to me, it's looking like a 9-7 record is very possible for this team. Maybe a playoff spot, maybe the last playoff spot. What do you think?
I think so too, and I also have them going 9-7. I think they have a very talented defense over there, and I'm pretty sure, and they have a very talented offense too. Just that the big question is the quarterbacks. They had to step up if they want to let this team win and get to the playoffs. If these quarterbacks can step up and let this Chargers team win some games, their predictions would be much higher. So yeah, I'm having them going 9-7.
So that's going to do it for our analysis of the AFC West this year. We're looking at Kansas City winning the division and the Broncos getting a wild card spot and possibly the Chargers snagging a last wild card spot. Tell us what you think in the comments section below. Be sure to destroy that like button and subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell for future uploads. Thank you for watching. This has been Art
and John
signing off.